and bang her on the altar of the church. Women who shave are sexy objects of desire. Like, she's fully on birth control. They use a condom. And she gets pregnant. Hi! You may be wondering, what is this red add-on on your neck, Alice? Well, since today we're talking about the worst books of 2022, I thought I could do something a little special. Welcome to the worst books of 2022, in which I channel my inner devilish energy to talk about these awful books. Now, I'm going to do a separate video for all the disappointing books, the 2 and 3 stars. These are the 1 stars. These are the worst books, the one that make me want to burn these books, Ray Bradbury style, like completely chuck them in a fire. So, there are actually 2 categories in these worst books video. There are the ones who are silly. They didn't actually make me mad, they were just bad books. They were written weirdly, they had like strange misogynist elements or just like weird out-of-pocket things that get no recognition in the story. And then there are the bad books, like the intrinsically bad books, the books that make me want to go feral and like rip them apart. Let's start calm. Let's start with like the least of the devilish energy. Oh, it looks like I have pigtails. I don't like that. The first book is Priest by Sarah Simone. You may recognize this because this went viral on the like dark romance side of TikTok, and I trusted them. Never again. This book talks about a priest that he doesn't see the protagonist. It's not a love at first sight of insta love. He hears her voice and decides, I want to bang this woman and then marry her. She goes to a confessional and she confesses her sins, and he is like, this voice is the most beautiful, sexy voice I've ever heard in my entire life. I need to find this woman and bang her on the altar of the church. And that's exactly what happens. Yeah. He also calls her lamb, like little lamb, like a sacrificial lamb. Jail, horny jail. The next one is another book that went super viral on TikTok. It's I Spawned a Barbarian by Ruby Dixon. I wanted to read this book out of sheer curiosity for once, but also I wanted a silly, goofy book, like a monster romance. I actually kind of like monster romance because I think they're fun, they're very speculative in the way that they're written, and it's a wonderful, funny side of the romance genre. I like them. If you want something good, the Morning Glory Milk and Farm. That was actually really good, actually kind of romantic. This one is a bleak book. This is a psychological thriller. This is not a romance. It's not a monster romance. These women at the beginning of the book get captured by alien, captured and tortured, like psychologically and physically manipulated and tortured until they get to, they crash land on a planet where they find the Ice Planet Barbarians, where they form this instant connection where they bond, and the protagonist gets tongue blasted while she's asleep by this Ice Planet Barbarian, her mate, because he hears the calling, but she's asleep. Isn't that kind of like an assault? But she's into it. That's no biggie, even though she was fully asleep. So yeah, that's if you want to read this series, I don't know about the other books, but the first one was a doozy. Not romantic at all. Like, there's no romance. It's just like Ice Planet Barbarians, aliens, blue aliens, and who have like big manhoods, and they do things in the name of the mating call. It's also like a survival thriller, kind of like a horror, space horror. I hated this book. It was also very badly written. I feel kind of in a silly, goofy mood. Can you tell? Can you tell? So then I went onto my Storytel account, which is for audiobooks. I wanted to find, again, a silly, fun romance. and I read this title and I was like, this was made for me. It was not, but let's get into it. I like big dragons and I cannot lie. I'm sorry, let me repeat myself. I like big dragons and I cannot lie. I have a microphone. I am so stupid. We're back with the microphone because I need it to anchor myself or else. So I like big dragons and I cannot lie. I feel like I could stop at the title, but there's also the fact that this book is about, of course, dragon, mating calls, etc. This features my worst nightmare, which is the protagonist being on birth control and getting pregnant. I'm sorry, let me just tell you again. She's fully on birth control. They use a condom and she gets pregnant. Why? Just because we have to have like the pregnancy trope? But why have her on birth control, having them use all the precautions because she cannot bear a child in this particular moment because it's very dangerous. There are like rivaling clans that are onto them, like dragon clans. And she gets pregnant regardless. Oh my god, I hated this book. It was so ridiculous, badly written, but it's like, I wanted a fun ridiculous. This was a scary ridiculous. Now we enter the bad category. Firstly, I want to get over this book because I fully want to get over this book. It's an Italian book which stemmed a series for Netflix. It's the Astrological Guide for Broken Hearts, in Italian, Guida astrologica per cuori infranti. The series has the same name. I wanted to read the book before I watched the series. The series is okay. The book was written by a boomer millennial, and it shows like in the 2010s, 2015s. This book has every stereotype you could ever think of. Every literary cliche is in this book. So, the premise of this book is the protagonist works for a teeny tiny TV channel station, and she encounters a guy who is really into astrology, and together they create this program which is called the Astrological Guide for Broken Hearts, in which they analyze astrological signs to get people together and to get like advice for people. But there's also in the background, but it's also the forefront of the story, the fact that the protagonist's love life, of course, is a disaster. She has an ex that is going to get married. She goes on dates with people which are like terrible. Every fucking stereotype is in the story. It's like the Spanish Latin lover who talks in Spanish and everybody understands him for some reason. There is the German guy who's into eugenics. There's a poor guy who is clearly autistic. He doesn't understand social clues. He has like a rigid method, like list of things that has to be done in order, and she treats him like an idiot. She's not kind at all. She almost gets assaulted. Like, she has a guy getting her drunk and want to make out in a car, and it's played for laughs. And then there are the friends. The friend who's into astrology, who is gay and a huge bitch. Like a huge bitch. I hated him. And the other friend who is a bigot and like a nun. She is like, if you don't shave, then you don't have sex. Because women who shave are sexy objects of desire. Are we in 1797? I digress. But there's also the fact that this friend says to the protagonist, you're too much into astrology. I'm going to get you into a mental hospital. And it's played for laughs because the patients are like characters of people who have mental health issues. Haha, so funny. Funny, but not funny, haha. Funny, get a life. And also the love interest is married and cheats on his wife with the protagonist. Funny, ha ha ha. Let's get into the two books that made me want to commit arson against books, which never happens. I'm a very respectful gal. I'm a pero muy responsable. Let's start with the one who is the least, but still like a fire passion with 1,000 suns. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And you were like, Alice, didn't you say that you would never read a Taylor Jenkins Reid book? I said it on my TikTok multiple times. But then one of my friends said, no, you should give her a chance. Her newest book, though, like The Seven Husbands of Emily Hugo, like Cursed is Back, like Malibu Rising. Why did you do that? Giulia, ma che cazzo c'avevi in testa? So this is not a book. This is a script for a soap opera. And this is how I'm going to categorize this thing. It talks about a rich family in Malibu. It goes back and forth from the past with the story of their mother, who is very poor and then dates a guy that becomes very, very famous for his songs, kind of like an Elvis. And he cheats on her. Oh my god, I could have never guessed that a guy that gets famous and cheats on his wife with like startlets. It's like the plot of every fucking soap opera that I've ever seen in my life. And then there's the kids who are like all fucking stereotypes of, again, soap opera characters. They're one-dimensional, boring. I don't care about them. You don't care about them. There's no plot twist. You know exactly from page 1 where the story is going. Also, the past like sections were so boring. I don't care. And like this poor woman was like victimized to the end. And to the end, she never thinks of herself as a person. She's always the wife, the girlfriend. I exist because this man exists. And up until the end, it is most egregiously, up until her death, she thinks, I have to stay here and never go out of my marriage because sometimes he's going to come back to me. Her whole life like revolves around this man who is awful. Everybody knows he's awful. She knows it. And there's also like the second part of the book is vignettes describing in the present time a party that these kids throw every year. You know from page 1 that there's going to be a big fire starting from this party that is going to like get Malibu up in flames. It was so boring. Poorly written, like the writing was abysmal. There's like noun, verb, sometimes an adjective, sometimes an adverb. Oh my god. So like, yeah, I don't recommend this. I don't know if Taylor Jenkins Reid has better books. I'm going to still read Seven Husbands because I'm very interested in that storyline, but if it's anything like this book, you people on the internet scare me. Have you never seen Un posto al sole? Or like Tempesta d'amore? Or like 19210? Let's, I don't know, check them out. Okay, I feel better. Writing about books is therapeutical. So this is the last book that I'm going to talk about. And it's the book that I think is actually harmful to people. It is. It's like The Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. This wants to be like a sad girlies book that talks about motherhood, kind of like an Otessa Moshfag kind of book, but it's actually like a manifesto for a wave of feminism that is thankfully dying, but not quickly enough. And it's very scary to see this in a book where people praise it for the feminist aspect. It's Night Bitch. I have a whole rant in a video that I did reading like sad girlies books. This book talks about a woman who is very unhappy in her life. She was an artist and she had to give it all up for raising her kid because her husband has a very demanding job and he's never home. And she gets so unhappy with the society that she wants to break free of her condition and she starts to transform into a dog like Night Bitch. Not only this book talks about motherhood as sainthood, like you become frankly a saint, but every woman in this book is either a mother or is nothing. You're nothing outside motherhood, which is exactly what the protagonist wants to say. She feels nothing being a mother like her sense of self has been totally bulldozed over by this kid who has frankly no guilt. Like it's not its fault, but she really sees him as an act of violence. Like she says, the fact that he pushed out of my womb is an act of violence. No, violence is deliberate. It's not the child's fault. Oh my god, this is a very harmful rhetoric. At the end, every woman in this book is either a mother or it's nothing. And at the end of the book, the protagonist says, like explicitly says, that motherhood gave her something that other women don't have. And motherhood made her special, a saint. It's a transcendental experience. I wanted to burn this book and then myself and then my house. This book promotes a branch of feminism that is called the feminism of differences. It has many names, but this is what it is. It is a feminism that recognizes that this society is patriarchal and it was made by man for men, so women should not participate in this society. So women, this is a thing that actually happened. Stop voting, stop going to protest, stop doing anything, because it was a man's world. And these were not things that were made for them. Like voting, protesting, these people were out of their mind. This branch of feminism also promotes, and this book promotes, what is called the ethics of care. So in caring, and caring means motherhood, because a woman is a mother and the mother is a woman, which is kind of, you know, transphobic in itself, but let's digress. You gain value. So motherhood gives you value. It's not that you don't have value outside of motherhood, but motherhood gives you value in the new society that these women wanted to create, which is an insane thing. This is kind of like a cult. This was going to be a short story, and it should have been a short story, because I don't think the author wanted to write a book with this message, but she did. And I am very mad about it. You know what I'm going to do? Wonderful, 10 out of 10. So these were the 6 books that really were bad. I really hated them for one reason or another. Of course, this is my opinion. If you read these books and enjoyed them, aside from Night Bitch, which I think was actually harmful, there's nothing wrong. Of course, if you loved Priest by Sarah Simone, more power to you. It was a fun book, but it's just like, you know, it's my preference. This is my video, and it would be weird if I talked about the worst books that you found were the worst books, wouldn't it? So yeah, I hope you have fun. I'm going to do another video about the most disappointing books and then the best books, which I have a lot. I read a lot of 5-star this year. I'm very happy about it. So yeah, if you want to connect with me, I have some socials down there. I have a TikTok, which I'm most active on, and it's a fun time there. I hope you loved my balaclava. I made it. I'm very happy about it. It's very warm because it's really cold here. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you in the next book. In the next video, which is going to be happening very soon because I'm doing like a little series for Christmas. So yeah, goodbye! Mwah! Mwah!